Hello, Year 3 and Year 4. Welcome to your English Lessons Live with me, Mr. Phillips. It's Tuesday, which means it's time to do some reading. If you've not got your book already, make sure you go down into the description to collect your extract of the book. Okay, today we're reading a book called The Wizard of Once. The Wizards of Once, plural, sorry. This here, Once There Were Wild Woods, is not the title of the book. I couldn't find the book from cover, so I got this one instead, which is the picture on the very first page, okay? So, The Wizards of Once, that is the book we're reading today, all right? So, let's start. We know our 4 different sections of our reading lesson: the predict, the clarify, the question, and the summary. So let's get straight into the prediction. Oh, before we start, actually, thank you to everyone who, in the last reading session, worked really hard to take on board the advice I was giving about have a go first, pause the video, and then watch my description, okay? And not just watch my description straight away. It was so good to see people submitting reading work that had ticks and readjustments and things. That shows me that you're thinking a lot more about the work that you're doing. So well done, keep that up. First of all, let's start with our predict section. I predict that. What do we think is going to happen in this book, The Wizards of Once? Okay, so we've got The Wizards of Once and we've got this picture. Once there were wild woods. That is what we have to go off today, okay? Have a little think and then pause the video and then have a go at writing what you predict this book is going to be about. Don't wait for me and then copy mine, because mine is going to be very different to yours, okay? So stop the video now and have a little think. What do you predict is going to happen in this text? Okay? Right, I'm going to have a little go now. So you should have your prediction written down already. So I'm going to have a little go at showing you how I would do it. So, The Wizards of Once. Straight away, the title has given me the idea of wizards and magic. So I assume they're going to play a big part of it. And it says, once there were wild woods. And it has this again, this use of the word once. So once there were wizards and once there were wild woods. So I'm getting the idea that maybe did the wizards go into the wild wood once, and maybe the wild woods were really dangerous. I'm kind of getting a dangerous vibe from this picture here. So maybe the wizards went into the wild woods to kind of maybe stop any monsters that were inside it, and maybe they got lost or they never came back. So that's why they're called the Wizards of Once, because they used to exist. That's kind of my prediction. So I'm going to write that down. I predict that this story is about wizards who went into the wild woods many years ago and never. I'll tell them why. Years ago, to slay the horrible beasts, but they never returned. And then I think this book is going to be about maybe many years later, when the wizards are maybe forgotten about, wizards start re-emerging, or people find the wizards, or things like that. That's what I predict the book is going to be about. But it doesn't matter if yours is completely different to mine. We're just having logical guesses to get our brains going and thinking. Okay? So now we predicted, we should probably have a read of the text. So let's get the text up. There it is. There's that opening page. Once there were wild woods. Okay, today we're gonna read the prologue only. I can't remember. Did I read a prologue with you, or was that with Year 5 and Year 6? Can't remember. But we're gonna read the prologue, which is the story before the story begins. Okay, it gives you a little bit of background. And actually, this book, The Wizards of Once, is actually the 3rd book in the series. I couldn't get an extract of the first or the second one. So because we're jumping into the 3rd book, we probably do need a little bit of context just to help us out, okay? So I'm going to read it to you. Make sure you listen and follow along on your own text if you want. Prologue. Once there were wild woods. The wizards had lived in the wild woods for as long as anyone could remember, and they were intending to live there forever, along with all other magic things. Until the warriors came. The warriors invaded from across the seas, and although they had no magic, they brought a new weapon that they called iron. and iron was the only thing that magic would not work on. From that moment on, wizards and warriors were fighting each other to the death in the wild woods. Until one day, a young warrior queen called Sinchorax fell in love with a young wizard, a king called Encanzo. Wizards and warriors should never fall in love. So Sinchorax had taken the spell of love denied to make her love die. So she takes a potion to make her not love him anymore. And the love had died indeed. And Sinchorax had married a warrior like she was supposed to. And Encanzo had married a wizard just as a wizard should. So the danger of a curse ought to have been avoided. But 13 years ago, Sinchorax had a daughter whose name was Wish, and Wish had a terrible secret. The lingering true love kiss of the wizard Encanzo had made Queen Sinchorax's daughter magic. So because Encanzo and Sinchorax had been in love, it meant that Sinchorax's daughter has ended up with magic, even though she's a warrior. And for the first time in human history, Wish had a magic that works on iron. And 13 years ago, Encanzo had a son whose name was Zar. And Zar had a terrible secret. Zar stole some magic from a witch, and the stain of the witch magic was beginning to control him. This is the story of how Zar and Wish met, and how they made friends even though they had been brought up to hate each other like poison. Wish and Zar have run away from their parents, searching for the ingredients for a spell to get rid of witches. They are outcasts, hunted by wizards and warriors alike, but by something far, far worse. Witches. Witches must never get hold of magic that works on iron. But twice, Wish and Zar have escaped the talons of the witches. Twice, they have cheated death. And that's the end of the prologue. So that gives us an idea of pretty much catching us up to the third book in the series. So we assume that when it's saying twice they've escaped the talons of the witches, that's referring to the other two books. Right, there's quite a lot of names in that, and quite a lot of information which you need to kind of get your head around. So if you're not 100% sure what's happening, pause the video, go back, listen to me read it again, or have a little read through it yourself, okay? So we've been introduced to quite a few different people there. Wizards and warriors, and who they should fall in love with and who they shouldn't fall in love with, and who's friends with who, and witches as well. So make sure you got a full understanding of that. Okay, right, so we've predicted and we read the book now, so it's time to clarify. And these are the three key pieces of vocabulary that I've picked out that I would like you to know the meanings of by the end of this session. So we've got invaded, lingering, and outcasts. All right, so for each of these words, what I want you to do is to write down what you think the definition is, and then we'll have a little talk through it in a bit. Okay, so first of all, we've got invaded. So it's said that the warriors invaded the lands of the wizards. Have a little think. What do you think the definition of invaded is? Pause the video there and write down your answer. Okay, so now you've defined invaded, let's look at the next one, which is lingering. It's said that she had a lingering secret. What do you think lingering might mean? You might say that it was a lingering feeling or a lingering smell. What do you think lingering might mean? Pause the video again and write down your definition of lingering. And finally, we have the word outcasts. It said in the book that, I can't remember the names, Wish and Zan, I think, were both outcasts. What does that mean? What are they if they are outcasts? Pause the video one last time and write down your definition of outcasts. So you should now have three definitions: invaded, lingering, outcasts. Okay, Now, if I tell you something else that's different to what you've written down, doesn't matter, just have a little write down of my answer as well. If you've got it spot on, give yourself a tick. So, invaded. So, invaded is when people come from somewhere else and take over your land. You know, you might say the Vikings invaded Britain. It's people from somewhere else, or it don't have to be from a different country. Just come over and they take over what belongs to you, normally by force. So, we could write down as a definition when someone takes over your land by force. And normally it is land or property or something like that. Invaded is taking a place that belongs to you by force. Okay, if you've got that or something like that, give yourself a tick. Lingering. Now it says it was a lingering secret. Lingering is the progressive form of to linger. Okay, and if you are lingering or if you linger around, it means you're hanging around and you're staying there. Okay, if, for example, there's a lingering smell, it means there's a smell that's just kind of hanging around and it won't go away. I always tell the year sixes off for lingering around the door because they're just hanging around the door and they're not going out to break time. Okay, so lingering means hanging around, and if we're talking about like lingering emotions, it normally means they're kind of hanging above your head, which means they're kind of on your mind all the time. So lingering is hanging around and not going away. Okay, give yourself a tick if you've got something like that. And then outcasts. If you were an outcast, you were someone who's been thrown from somewhere, not literally, but you know, you've been told you have to leave somewhere and you're not allowed back. And outcasts are people who aren't accepted by a kind of a group, any group of people, so they're like on their own. So when it says that Wish and Zan were outcasts, it means the wizards didn't accept them, and the warriors didn't accept them, and the witches didn't accept them. They were completely on their own. So on their own, not accepted by any groups. Okay, so those are our 3 new pieces of vocabulary for today. So hopefully now you can hold them in your brain, use them in your writing, and use them in your reading. So now we've predicted, we've read, and we've clarified. Time to do the question. I'm going to move my face out of the way so I'm not blocking that question. There we go. Okay, so same approach. Make sure you have a go first before you listen to my version, okay? So question 1. In your opinion, why did the wizards and warriors begin to fight? Now I've put in your opinion because it's not necessarily 100% clear. It gives us an idea, but the actual details are a little bit hidden. So I've just said, in your opinion, why did the wizards and the warriors begin to fight? So why do you think? But see if you can back it up with evidence from the text. So go back to the text, have a little read of that opening page, and tell me, why did the wizards and the warriors begin to fight? Pause the video there, write that answer down. Okay, so hopefully you've got an answer there. Now, I would like to give 2 marks away. So if you can have a point and a piece of evidence, that would be perfect. If you've not put a quote in for evidence, have a go at doing that now. If you're not sure how to do that, just leave it and I'll show you in a bit. Question 2 says, why did Cinchorax not marry Encanzo? Why did Cinchorax not marry Encanzo? Okay, that's a retrieval question. The answer is there in the text, and all you need to do is go and grab it and bring it back to me. If you think you can remember, don't just put down what you remember. Go back and check. It's not a memory test. It's a test of your comprehension. Can you go back and just double check that is definitely the answer? Pause the video there and write your answer down. Okay, perfect. So you have 2 answers now. Question number 3. Now, when I was rambling during the reading, I accidentally have given you this answer because I forgot that I'd written it as a question. So if you were really listening, you'll have this answer already. How did Wish have magic that worked on iron? How come Wish, who was a warrior? Don't remember. Yes, I think she's a warrior. How did Wish, as the warrior, have magic that worked on iron? How did that happen? Go back to the text, find the explanation, and write it down. Pause the video there, off you go. Okay, lovely. And question 4, brought up to hate each other like poison. That's a quote from the text. Well, it says why. That's not right, Mr. Phillips. What does the author mean by this? When the author says they were brought up to hate each other like poison, what does the author mean by this? Now, you don't actually have to go back to the text for this because the quote's there for you. To hate each other like poison. Do your best to explain for me what that simile means. What does the author mean by that? Pause the video there. Off you go. Okay, so you should have 4 answers now. If there's one that you're really struggling on, have a go, okay? If you have a little guess, you're more likely to get a mark. You're more likely to get a mark than if you just put nothing, okay? Right, should we have a little look then? In your opinion, why did the Wizards and Warriors begin to fight? So we go back to the text. Now we know that's at the beginning because that was in the original context. So I'm going to start skimming and scanning for fighting words or something that I think might link to that. So the Wizards had lived in the Wildwoods for as long as anyone could remember, and they intended to live there forever, along with all other magic things, until the Warriors came. The Warriors invaded, which we now know means they came and they took over from across the sea, and although they had no magic, they brought a new weapon that they called iron. From that moment on, Wizards and Warriors were fighting each other to the death in the Wildwoods. So why do you think they began fighting? It didn't say this happened, therefore they are fighting. It kind of just drops a few hints in. Well, there's kind of 2 options there, isn't there, really? Number 1 is the fact that the Warriors invaded. So the Warriors came from across the sea and took over the Wizards' land. That could be a reason why they started fighting. And also, you could also have the fact that they had weapons that were magic didn't work on, which made them a threat to the Wizards. Because they had iron, which the Wizards couldn't use magic on, they were suddenly a massive threat to the Wizards. So you can have either of those answers. I'm going to go for the first one. So in your opinion, why did the Wizards and Warriors begin to fight? They began to fight because the Warriors invaded the land of the Wizards. And there we're using our new vocabulary correctly in that question. They began to fight because the Warriors invaded the land of the Wizards. If I was going to put a quote on to support this, I would say, I know this because in the text it says that I'll put my speech marks, 66. What is the quote? They invaded from across the sea. Capital letter, 66, capital letter, blah, blah, blah. Invaded from across the sea. So what, I'm not going to put a piece of punctuation, even though that is very different to how we punctuate speech and writing. I'm not going to put it there for a quote. So they began to fight because the Warriors invaded the land of the Wizards. I know this because in the text it says invaded from across the sea. Perfect. 2 marks. Moving on. Number 2 is a little bit easier. Why did Cinchorax not marry Incanzo? So we head back into the text. I think that was at the end of the first page, I vaguely remember. Yep, and it helps because all the names are in capitals. There's Cinchorax. A young warrior queen called Cinchorax fell in love with a young wizard king called Incanzo. Wizards and warriors should never fall in love, so Cinchorax had taken the spell of love denied to make her love die, and the love had died indeed. So why did they not get married? Well, it's because Cinchorax took the spell of love denied, which was a potion that caused the love that she had for Incanzo to die. Very cheerful. So why did Cinchorax not marry Incanzo? We just want to keep that name there, so I have to figure out how to spell it again. Cinchorax took the, and let me copy the name exactly. Spell of love denied. Spell of love denied. So she wouldn't love Incanzo anymore. There we go. That's why they didn't get married. And the reason she took that was because obviously it was just forbidden for warriors and wizards to get married. So you might have an answer that relates to that, which also would be right. Ready for number 3? It says, how did Wish have magic that worked on iron? So how did Wish end up with the ability to have magic that worked on iron. Well, let's skim and scan for the name Wish. There it is, perfect in capitals. If only all books had their character names in capitals, it would be so much easier. 13 years ago, Cinchorix had a daughter whose name was Wish, and Wish had a terrible secret. The lingering truth, so the truth that hung around, the lingering true love kiss of the wizard Incanzo had made Queen Cinchorix's daughter magic. Whew. So, the true love's kiss of wizard Incanzo to Queen Cinchorix had made Cinchorix's daughter Wish magic. Got that? Good. Right, let's try and put that into a sentence. So, how did Wish have magic that worked on iron? Because her mother, I'm going to use some parenthesis, Cinchorix, had a true love's kiss. Is that what it's saying in the text? Yes, true love kiss. Had a true love's kiss with a wizard, more parenthesis, Incanzo, and this made Wish magic. No further explanation needed. Just did. So, because her mother, Cinchorix, had a true love's kiss with a wizard, Incanzo, and this made Wish magic. And it's probably the combination of Wish being a warrior and magic means she has the ability to use magic on iron. There we go. Quite hard questions today, aren't they? Number 4, last one, which is the hardest of them all. Brought up to hate each other like poison. What does the author mean by this? Right, well, what does brought up mean? I'm going to put this on a different line so we can type and look at the question at the same time. So what does brought up mean? Well, brought up means they were raised as they were getting older. So they were raised from children to hate each other. Well, that makes sense. Raised from children to hate each other. Why like poison? Well, poison is deadly, isn't it? That is the point. Poison is used to kill people. So it's like they've got almost like a deadly hate for each other. Like they hate each other so much. They should hate each other so much anyway that they would be happy to kill each other. That much aggression between them. So that is what they kind of mean. So raised from children to hate each other so much that they would be happy to fight to the death or kill each other. Okay, so by describing their hatred as like poison, it's like a deadly hatred. Okay, now you probably won't have the exact wording that I've got for my answers, but if you've got something along the right lines, give yourself a tick. If you're not sure, just write my answers alongside it so you've got an idea as well. And when you send that to me, I'll be able to see what you originally thought, and I might be like, yeah, I think you got that originally. Well done, fabulous. So, time to move on to our last section, our summary. I'm going to move myself down there. But yeah, as I said before, this is the third book of a series. So if you like this, you can get the first one. It's just called The Wizards of Once, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. So your summary question, which I'm going to leave you to do by yourselves today, because I like seeing how you guys come up with these, is: would you rather be a wizard or a warrior? Not just in general, in this context. Would you rather be a wizard or a warrior? And can you explain why? Okay, so that's what I would like you to do for your summary task. Tell me, which team would you prefer to be on, the Wizards or the Warriors? And can you explain for me why? Thank you very much, guys. Don't forget you can send your work to rsa.year6@3-saints.org.uk. And I will see you guys tomorrow for our next Wolves in the Wall writing lesson. Bye.